There's like fireworks going off in the background because it's the 4th of July. I hate it here. But I just finished The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue and I sobbed the entire ending.
The next day.
Not me like blending into my chair here with the gray on gray. Hey guys, it's Bonnie. Today I am here to do a review video, which I don't do very often. But I hadn't gotten like any clips while reading The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, but it's definitely one that I want to talk about because it's a very exciting upcoming release for many people, and more than that, I just freaking loved it. I didn't take down any notes, so this review is gonna be a hot mess, but it's gonna be spoiler free. I don't even know if legally I could give spoilers since I read it as an ARC. Thank you, NetGalley. So if you are unaware, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue is about a girl named Addie LaRue. I know, shocking. The beginning of the story takes place either in the late 1600s or the early 1700s. Addie is 23 years old and she does not want to get married, but she is being pushed into it. She's very much kind of like a belle at the beginning of the story. She's like, I don't want to just live in this little French town. I want much more than this provincial life. So there's this one older woman in her town who isn't following like Christianity. She believes in the old gods and she tells Addie how to pray to them. The only thing is she warns her not to pray to the gods that come out at night. And so Addie has been praying, but none of these gods have been answering. And finally we have come to the day of her wedding. She's about to have it, but she's like, hold on, I just need a minute. And she runs off into the forest and she makes one last attempt to pray. However, she doesn't realize, maybe she does and doesn't care, she's just desperate at this point, that it has gotten dark. So the god that comes to answer her call is called a few things in this book: a god, a monster, the devil. I'm just gonna go with the most common, which is the dark. So Addie calls and the dark answers, and she's just basically begging for more time. She wants to be free. And so the dark is like, okay, deal. But of course, making deals with the devil, better be careful what exactly you are asking for. The dark gives her time because she is now immortal. And the dark's way of giving Addie freedom is that every person she meets will not remember her. So all of her family and friends, they do not remember her. Every time she talks to someone, as soon as they walk away from her out of sight or a door closes or they go to sleep, they forget her. And Addie cannot say her name, she cannot tell her story, nor can she write it. So then we jump to 2014, nearly 300 years since Addie had made her deal. She's just living life in New York City, and all is the same as it has been for the past 300 years until she meets this boy named Henry who remembers her. So the story basically goes back and forth between the past and the present, and we see how Addie has kind of learned to cope, her sort of relationship with the dark always coming and being like, okay, you done now? Can I have your soul? So yeah, like I said, I loved this book. I will say I have like 2 negatives. I'm gonna start there. I would say the beginning-ish and then around the 70% mark, like those 2 spots in the book were a little slow. I did think things could have went a little faster when it came to establishing Addie's relationship with the dark, but all the other moments had me gripped by the throat. Like I couldn't stop reading. I needed to know what was gonna happen. The writing was just so excellent, and I can't even really put my finger on what about it was so good. It was atmospheric, but not in the way I would normally describe an atmospheric book. It just had this very like story-like vibe to it, but not in the way that you weren't connecting to it. Like I wasn't reading it like I am reading a story kind of thing. It was just beautiful. Like the words, the flow, the pacing, it was so gorgeous. This wasn't my first V.E. Schwab, but it is definitely my favorite. I've also read the trilogy by her. I literally cannot remember A Darker Shade of Magic. And her writing was good there too, but I think it's just like top notch here. I absolutely adored Miss Addie LaRue. She is such a badass, and like I could not imagine if suddenly no one in my life remembered me and no one that I talked to would ever remember me. Like I don't think I would be able to survive that. But the way we see Addie pick herself up and kind of defiantly go against the dark, go against the devil and be like, no, you want to break me. So just to say, F you, I'm going to keep going and I'm going to persevere. And it's just like, I found myself really just relating to Addie in ways, or not so just much relating, but like it'd be really cheesy for me to go into it, so like I'm not. But seeing Addie go from like ready to give up to like literally spiting the devil, it just kind of makes you think about things that you've gone through, and you're like, you know what, I've pushed through things too, and it's like, if Addie could keep going, I could go. I told you I'm getting cheesy. Then there was Henry. Oh, our sweet, sweet boy, Henry. Why is every man named Henry good? Like, I've yet to meet a bad Henry. I just wanted to give him a hug, good bowl of soup, tuck him into bed. He was so sweet. And his story had me breaking. There were parts of it that like I kind of guessed as to where the story was going, but it was one of those where it doesn't really matter because it's the way things are written and the emotions that come out of it that is really driving this story, rather than I would say the reveals, which is like my favorite kind of story because I'm such a character-based reader. Our only other like main character, I guess, would be the dark, the devil, whatever. Now y'all know I am not a villain kind of gal. The Darkling, he can choke. And like, I don't like this villain necessarily. I mean, I appreciate them as villains, but I'm never one to be like, yes, get with our protagonist. Like, no. My memory card ran out of space. Love that for me. With the villain in this book though, he was very villainous. Like, this is what I do. There isn't like a redemption here. But I will say there was always something a little sexy about him. I could not deny it. But even then I wasn't at the point where I was like, yes, him and Addie, woo. But then eventually I even started, dare I say, shipping them. I don't know what V.E. Schwab has done. I am a different person. I think though, once again, it's just so much of Addie, because say it with me, she is a badass bitch. And the way that it goes from her being kind of tricked into this deal, not realizing what she was selling her soul for, to her just being like, well, you know what, motherfucker, now I'm pissed and I'm smart and I'm gonna learn how to play me like you have played. And I'm gonna learn how to play you like you have played me. Like, she is just so strong and such a fighter, and it made the dynamic just so good. But I also loved Henry, and I loved the way him and Addie connected, because for her this was such a big deal, because for 300 years the Dark was literally the only one who knew who she was. And then Henry comes along and it's like, there's just so many emotions, and I don't want to give too much away. Another thing that got me about this book was just the way that I would be reading it and I'd just be like, this is such a good idea. Like, obviously there have been things done like this before, people living through decades and having like multiple lives kind of thing, but this was just so unique in the way that Addie had to learn how to survive. Like, she's not being remembered, but she's like trying to make her mark and kind of grapple with what is a life if no one remembers you, and what is a life if you can't tell your story or even tell someone who you are. And it was just like, oh my god. I can't wait until I have a physical copy of this book to reread it so that I can go in and just tab the shit out of it, because there were so many beautiful quotes and it was just great. There's a reason that I've seen nearly everyone I think that has read this give it 5 or 4 stars and rave about it, because it is just that good. As you saw in the beginning clip, I finished this book last night and I was sobbing. I sobbed through the last like 10% of the book. I felt so many emotions, and I'm both satisfied and unsatisfied with the ending. Like, I kind of wish that there was just something, a little something. That was very vague for obvious reasons. I'm not gonna spoil anything here. Like, the ending fit the book definitely, but me being me is like, just have a little bit of a nibble, just a little treat, a little bit something more, please. But yeah, I'm still giving this book 5 stars, because there was at one point I was like, maybe I'll knock half a star, just for those times I was in like the sort of slower chapters that were for me anyway. But then, like I said, I sobbed through the entire ending and it hit me like, I don't know, a bowling ball, a wrecking ball. Is there a ball bigger and heavier than that? It was just so good, which is why, again, I had to give this its own review video so that y'all know that in October, which is when it comes out, October 6th, go get it, read the shit out of it, cry, laugh, have a good time, have a hard time. Again, thank you to NetGalley for this arc. I felt so special getting it. I was like, what? Just because I feel like V.E. Schwab is like a popular author, so I really didn't know how I paid that one off. I guess I should be thanking Tor, which is the publisher, so thank you, Tor. Mwah. And yeah, I don't really know what else to say because I'm just gonna keep rambling. The writing, amazing. The characters, fantastic. The plot, impeccable. The brain that V.E. Schwab has, so big. I can't wait for it to come out and for more people to read it so I can scream with other people, or at least let them scream to me. But I think that's gonna do it for this review video. Let me know if you want more review videos in the future. I typically stick to just reviewing books in my weekly reading vlogs, but I also feel like sometimes I don't need to review every book that I read, which is what I do currently. Review is and talk about it in my reading vlog and blah blah blah. But I don't know, lately I've been tired. Like sometimes I just want to read something and not talk about it to the internet if I don't like feel a certain way, you know? So I think I'm gonna stop pressuring myself to include every book in a reading vlog, do more reviews when I feel like it. That is completely unrelated to this video. So I'm gonna go. Thank you for watching. Let me know if you've read Addie LaRue already. I would love to scream about it, but like no spoilers. I mean, you can spoil me in like my Twitter DMs, but like don't in the comments, you know? If you haven't read it, again, I highly recommend adding this one to your TBR, pre-ordering her. Okay, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.